Okay, welcome back to this second of the videos on how my course works. We've already looked at the menu system and how the menu system works. We've also seen what a transcribed audio lecture is like and all the little games that are associated with it. And I've told you how this whole system is going to work for you. Now, I want you to look at the course documents, course information area, which is the syllabus and other information that's necessary for you to know how to work on the class. So here we are at the course documents and instructions. And so I am Roger Rossman. This is my email at WPCC. And however, because I live in Elizabeth City, which is, 6 hours away, I have no office space at WPCC and no office phone at WPCC. But I do have a link that you can see on the main page. Let me scroll back up to the main page there. Right here is a link. Right now, that link has no time on it because I'm making this before classes begin and I don't know what times I will have. But you will see times when I will be available. Just like I'm sitting in an office waiting for students to come by and talk to me, I'll be sitting in Zoom waiting for someone to click here and attach and connect to my Zoom chat so we can chat about the class. So you do have access to me, and I'll have that listed in there. My phone number, cell phone, is 252-340-5714, and I have my cell phone with me almost all the time. I do reply to emails and texts and voicemails and such within 24 hours, except for weekends and holidays. But even on weekends and holidays, probably in there doing some work. So I don't guarantee I'll reply within 24 hours during that time, but I probably will. I do, as I said before, have 3 applied associate degrees in electronics and computers from College of the Albemarle in Elizabeth City. I have a bachelor's degree in agriculture and a master's degree in psychology. Both of those are from the University of Georgia in Athens, Georgia. Go Dogs. I have taught psychology at the community college level for over 20 years. I do have a late work policy that says no late work. Now, of course, you're in a car accident and there's something wrong. Well, make sure somebody contacts me soon so I know that you have this issue. But in most cases, I'm going to be the one that decides whether that's a reasonable issue or not, that you missed a particular deadline. So all the deadlines are on the main menu right in front of you every day. You click in, the first thing you see is the menu, which has all the dates that everything is due. So there should be no reason for you to miss a date because of, oh, I forgot. I do allow one oops for tests. There's a number of tests, and I will drop the lowest 2 tests, but I will also give you one and only one makeup on a test that something happened. You get blocked out, you forgot it. I don't care what the reason is, but you do have to contact me and let me know that you have missed the tests or something else has happened to you by the Thursday of the week that you missed it. Now, I will send out an automatic email if somebody does not take a test within the time frame, the day after it's due. If you haven't taken the test, there's an email coming to you that says you just missed this test. So you have been informed, and you need to contact me and let me know what's going on. Students are required to do a graded assignment every single week. Something has to be done every single week. The only week that's an exception on that is the Thanksgiving fall week or Christmas, the holiday weeks where we're out. Then you don't have anything. I won't make you do anything. Some of your other teachers might, but I won't make you do anything those weeks. So then there's the Brain Fuse online tutoring program. That's WPCC's program for you to get tutored. The grading policy, which we will go over because most students want to know it, the 16-week fall schedule, is basically that schedule you see up in the main menu, but we'll look at it. My quizzes, how do they work? Good explanation here. How to tests in the final exam work. How to use citations and references. That's the one thing that I'm going to be pushing on you. Citations and references and quotes that you have to use in your discussion. So we'll be talking about discussions in one of these videos. Tips for a good grade. On the Discovering Psychology video series, some students want to see all of them. I only give you parts of them, so some students want to go and see all of those Discovering Psychology video series. They're kind of old, but they're interesting with Philip Zimbardo. And we'll talk about Philip Zimbardo. He's a well-known, very well-known psychologist. A lot of controversy about some of the things that he's done, and we'll talk about him. The attendance withdrawal policy is here. Basically, don't miss more than 2 weeks. If you miss 2 weeks of class, you've missed more than 10% of the class. You're going to have a good chance of getting dropped from the class. So don't miss work. Get work done. How do you miss a class if you're online? You didn't do any work that week. If you didn't do any work during the week, that week you're out. You got an absent. So additional attendance requirements that you have to do all the work, and we'll talk about that. Learning activities in each of the units, what they are, netiquette, how to be good online. Online support supplemental site, we've already talked a little bit about the transcribe sites that I've given you, but I also have this little thing here, which is for people who are really interested in psychology. Some of you are only taking this class because you have to. That's fine. That's great. I actually had a student once that at the end of the semester, he said, I learned something. I said, yeah? He said, yeah, I don't want to be a psychologist. So good. You learned something. That's great. And then he ended up being a social worker, which is almost the same thing. So it was really funny. But he came back later and told me that. So this is a supplemental site for people who are really interested in psychology. I'll click on it, show you what it is. New window I'll open up. So we've got this system here. What I have for you, you can't even see the top part. You just barely see this top part, but there is actually some material there. Let me see if I can move this down just a little bit. Right there. So now you've got the introduction, biopsychology development. Somebody is, let's say they're interested in sensation. Okay, here's links on sensation. So now when you point at a link, you get this little pointer, finger, right? Not these. I don't know why, but they are. If I click on that, boom, there you go. So you can click on all of these videos to tell you more about sensation if you're interested in sensation. And you can return to the top by clicking on that, and then learning, for instance. Not much there for learning in the videos. Dodo bird went extinct in 1661 because it couldn't learn how to stay away from people. So this is a site specifically for those students who are really interested, and it's just extra stuff out there, right? So it's not something you really have to worry about. Let's see. So let's go back here. So that's the supplemental site. It is available to anybody. If there's someone you know that's interested in psychology, you could send them that link and they would be able to use it. We have the YouTube channels. I said I recorded every single one of my lectures during COVID, and so they're out there, and they're like this. Day 0 is the introduction course, and then day 1, 2, 3, and 4, half of 4 is lectures on history and psychology, science. Some people prefer, rather than looking at the lectures, the transcribed lectures, they like to look at the videos. I don't know why, but hey, if that's what you want, there they are. And of course, we can go back to the lectures themselves, the online lectures, and you've already seen those, right? So that is the listing of all the things that are out there. What most people want to know is grading policy, so let's look at the grading policy. So you have the right as a student to do very poor work and earn an F, but you do not have the right to miss work and earn an F. You will be dropped if you do not do work. So you can do, hey, if you don't want to do really good work, that's fine. You're just sort of sitting there getting money for being in school or something. I don't know why you would want to be there if you're not going to do the work, but you have to do work. If you don't do the work, you will be withdrawn. Also, if you miss 2 major tests in a row, you'll be withdrawn. So don't miss the tests. Even though you can drop 2 tests, don't miss the tests. If you do not do any graded activity within 14 days, no graded activity within 14 days, you can be withdrawn. Any student who does not do a graded assignment for 2 weeks in a row will be withdrawn for non-participation prior to the last day of withdrawal. Now, if we're past the date of withdrawal and you just stop working, well, you most likely will get an F, but I can't withdraw you anymore. So check the class schedule to see when the last date to withdraw is for your class, and if we are past that due date, then I can't withdraw you. What are we doing here? Grading knowledge of the subject matter, of the chapters that are covered, reading comprehension, data recovery, recall, organizational skills, participation, attention to details, and personal responsibility are things that you're graded on. Now, psychology requires an enormous amount of data acquisition, comprehension, understanding, and recall. And in practice, a proper diagnosis must be made quickly to bring relief to the patient as soon as possible. And psychologists must be able to rapidly pinpoint information from a large pool of available data. Now, I'm not asking you to remember everything to be a psychologist. That's not what I'm asking you to do. But in life itself, you have to know things. A pilot can crash a plane easily. Janitors who vacuum but don't pay attention to the dirt they missed are going to get fired. Cooks at McDonald's can undercook a hamburger. And I'm not dissing being a McDonald's worker. I was a McDonald's worker, right? But you can put out bad food and get the place sued. So you're here not to learn useless information. You're here to prepare yourself for work in the work world. You're going to go to work someday. And if you don't pay attention to the details, you're going to get fired. So you need to learn to pay attention to details. Right? So students can expect graded assignments to be returned with appropriate feedback within 2 weeks of submission. Usually I get it done in about 6 days. You get the grade you earn. I do not give a W unless I'm asked, and I have given W's before. There's plenty of reasons that you can't, something happens in your life and you just can't concentrate anymore. Don't try. Take the W, come back. We're always here. We're always here. So ask if you want to be withdrawn. So how do the grades are earned? So there are nine tests. That includes the final exams. 9 tests. There's 14 units. There's 2 units in each test until the last test, test number 6, before the finals. Test number 6 has 3 in it, but that's 63% of your grade. Only 63%. So if you only did the test and you didn't do anything else, the highest grade you can get is a D. You need to do all the work. And as I've said, I dropped the lowest 2 automatically. So the first test you take is actually the lowest grade you have, and it gets dropped automatically. The second test you have is the second lowest test score you've ever had. It gets dropped automatically, and you don't see those in your grade. But then when you take the third test, the system automatically figures out which one are the lowest 2, and they put the highest grade into your class grades. So you will get a grade after the third test and the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th tests. Right? But the 2 lowest ones will be dropped. That includes the final exams. If you do really badly on the final exam, they're part of the testing system. They will be dropped, and your grade will be associated with the other tests instead if you do very badly on those final exams. There are 14 quizzes. That's 1 per unit, and each one is worth ½ a point. That's 7 points altogether, or 7% of your grade. There's 100 points in this system. And then there's a global discussion at the very end. It's a policy that I kind of like the idea of. You have to give me an idea about what you've learned by searching for a pathology in another country and how they deal with that pathology. And then you have to answer another student's discussion post. It's a discussion. And talk about how the American way is done, instead of, like, if I picked a psychosis in Russia and I was talking about Russia, another student has to say, oh, well, psychosis in the United States is done this way instead. And so you have an idea of what the world is like for psychology, and you are describing in this and using quotes, citations, and references, which is what discussions are all about. We'll talk about discussions in another unit. Right? On one of these other, we'll talk about discussions in another video. So that's the discussions, right? So you have 7 discussions, and then you have this one big, massive discussion at the end. And then there's a participation point that I will give you. If you turn everything in on time, you get 1 extra point. And if you turn all of the discussions in on time, you get 2 extra points. and that means there's 103 points in the entire system. So that's how it works. Now, quizzes can be taken as many times as you want. Quizzes, not tests. Quizzes can be taken as many times as you want. They're used to help you to learn. The highest grade on the quiz counts. So once you have 100% on a quiz, take the quiz without your books and notes. If you get a 10% on the quiz, it doesn't destroy your grade because the 100% is one that counts. But that 10% certainly tells you you don't know the material very well without the books, so you better study some more on those quizzes. That's what the quizzes are for. Take them over and over and over again until you pretty much mastered them without the books and the notes. Now, all of my tests are open book, open notes. And so that includes all these quizzes that you've taken, and the quizzes, which I'll talk about in another discussion, and the quizzes, which I will talk about in another video, those quizzes, I give you a printout of them, so you have them as notes. Right? But the test questions are not exactly the same as the quiz questions. Right? And high school, they want you to regurgitate information. In college, we want you to show that you understand the information. So the quiz question and the test question are not exactly the same. They're there, the quizzes were there to help you to learn the material. The test question is to test whether you actually do know the material. So the answers may be different. So for instance, we have trisomy 21, which we'll talk about in the biological section, which is also called Down syndrome. Well, on a quiz, I could call it Down syndrome. On the test, I might call it trisomy 21. You have to know both. You have to know the information and know how to use the information. Also, on a test, the quiz may have had an answer where the test doesn't have the answer. So it's none of the above, or none of the other answers are correct, really. And then I also have sometimes where two answers are correct. And so it's A and B, not just A. Right? So you have to be very careful as you're reading those. I said late work is not accepted. And here's the discussion rubric. This is how you're graded on the discussion. You can read that through. And then on your rubric for the literacy global distinction discussion, the 10-point really big discussion, this is how you'll be graded as well. Right, so that's the grading policy. Hopefully that's enough to help you to figure out how the class works. The fall schedule, I'll open up. And this is the fall schedule for this particular year, 2024, but this schedule will be the same for you guys in any class that you're in any semester you're in. It looks exactly the same, and it just has different dates on it, that's all. So the first unit's work is due 1 week after school starts. It's one quiz and one discussion. That's what you're needed to do. But there's also the first day assignments, which include an icebreaker discussion and an email that you have to send to me, as well as the activity, the quiz, which basically you've already done because you're seeing this. So you've already finished that quiz. And then the second week, the third week in this particular semester, the September 2nd was Labor Day, so there's nothing, but there's a quiz, a discussion, and test number 1. And you've already seen this because it's already in the menu system. That's what this said right here. So it's just a reiteration, but something you might be able to print out and hang up on a wall somewhere to remind you. So that's the schedule. Then the quizzes, I've already just talked to you about the quizzes and how they work, but you can read through here and see exactly what you need to do for the quizzes. And you can take them over and over and over and over and over again, and I suggest you do so. That actually has, my students have said that helps them a lot to get through it and take away some of the fear of having to do the quiz, because you can't not get a 100 on the quizzes. Take them until you get 100. I had one student that took the quiz, put A's in every single one of the answers, then went back, took it again and put B's everywhere they got the wrong answer, then C's everywhere they got the wrong 2 answers, right, twice. So, and they found every answer in the test, in the quiz, they got 100%. they didn't learn anything. And when the test came along, they got an F on the test because they didn't know anything. So you can fake it out as much as you want. It's just not going to work well. So that's quizzes, and the tests I've already talked a little bit about as well. And the tests and the final exam are all the same. They're all online. Now, I've been told that I have to have at least one assignment where I see or somebody sees who you are. In other words, you have to show up for that particular thing. And I haven't decided yet what that's going to be, but I'm wondering if they make the students that sit in class show their ID as well, because just because you're showing up in class and saying you're, hi, I'm Roger Rossman, doesn't mean you are. It's no better than somebody that's sitting in on an online class to know who that person is. So that bothers me. Anyway, that's, if you have any questions about the tests or the quizzes, let me know. We're hitting 21 minutes now, and I don't like to go much over 25, so citations and references. There's a really good, I've put out citations and references in a window, which goes through and shows you how to use citations and references. If you've never used them before, there's all kinds of different ways to look at it. Of course, I'm APA, which is American Psychological Association. I am not MLA. I'm not part of the English. I'm not part of the history, which is, what's that? History has its own version. I can't remember what it is at the moment. We're APA, American Psychological Association citations. So you need to pay attention to those. And let's see. More tips for good grades. So this just tells you a whole bunch of listing things that may help you to get a better grade, and try reading out loud. I've already said that. For those students who are audio learners, we've been told all our lives, read softly to yourself. In other words, don't say anything. No, say something. Saying something activates your jaw muscles, which are part of your brain mechanisms. You hear what you're saying. There's all kinds of other parts of the brain that are activated, so you are learning with a more brain activity. The same thing is true of writing down your own. Instead of typing does a little bit, but all research points to writing down notes is better than typing out notes. Don't know why. So I will end this video now and come back again, and we'll talk about discussions.